How did women get abortions in the past? There's often a bit of a misconception that historically doctors have simply not cared about women's health at all, but something they do know they'll get asked about a lot is fertility. And so historically, a lot of medical texts write about fertility and pregnancy a lot. We're going to look at some from the 17th century. So this is back when doctors are still doing bloodletting, and a lot of them think that bloodletting from the feet specifically can cause an abortion. There's a doctor called John Casaubon who's got a patient called Mary Best who's got epilepsy, and he bloodlets her from the feet in order to treat the epilepsy. But the whole time he's like, I pray God she were not whorish and did it to think avoid being with child. Of course, there are also herbal decoctions that you can buy to cause an abortion. They're sold as love potions, not that they will make someone fall in love with you, but that you can have sex with the person you love without worrying about pregnancy. I think today we sometimes imagine these quite romantically, like, oh, our ancestors used to fight the patriarchy by going to a wise woman and getting a natural remedy, but like these things were made of poison. If she mucks up the dose or brews it too strong, you're screwed. If they work the way they're supposed to, you're very lucky. You can also try the coat hanger method. Obviously modern coat hangers don't exist, but you'd use a different long iron implement. Again, this is really dangerous and people die trying it. They also know that breastfeeding is contraceptive. Amongst rich women, there was a bit of a stigma about breastfeeding. They often preferred to give the baby to a wet nurse instead, who would do that for them. And a lot of doctors specifically write trying to encourage rich women to breastfeed their own kids, partly because of this contraceptive effect. They don't want you having too much control, though. One doctor writes that it's a good thing the cervix isn't a voluntary muscle, because then women could just kind of clamp it shut so they didn't get pregnant and they could have sex whenever they felt like it. There would be many who would thereby hinder conception in the use of copulation, and there would be many wicked enough to expel and reject at pleasure the seed which they have conceived. But they do think women's pleasure is important. Back then there was a common belief that both partners needed to climax in order to fertilise an embryo. So if you want to have a baby, you'd best be showing your wife a good time. If you marry your daughter off to a bloke she doesn't like, you might not get grandkids. And on one hand that sounds kind of nice and progressive, but it does have some horrible side effects. It also means that if you get pregnant because of rape, then it can't have really been rape because you must have enjoyed it.